Okay, in this lecture, we're going to be going over Excel worksheet 134 and 135. Just going to go over briefly showing you how to go about doing those. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Share. Okay. And so we've got two Excel worksheets. First, 134. There are two Starbucks stores. Starbucks 1 is inside the shopping mall. Starbucks 2 is right outside a freeway. Below is the number of drinks served per day at each location for the past week. Calculate the mean, median, mode, and the sample standard deviation. So just take these and calculate the mean, median, mode for Starbucks 1. Take these and calculate the mean, median, and mode and sample standard deviation for Starbucks 2. You can, like I said, you've got to calculate the sample standard deviation. You can use the Excel formula or you can do it by hand, either way. And so what you're going to do then is take a look at these, take a look at these, and then say, hey, what insight can you get from the values that you calculated? Next, um, we have the Excel formulas right here. And so we've got average, mode, median, so on and so forth, going all the way down, and you'll see the actual Excel formulas here. So if you're like, hey, I would really like to see the Excel formulas for mean, mode, median, population, so on and so forth, it's all right here, and so you can look through that. And then next, we are going to look at these for standard deviation, variance, range, skewness, um, and then 68% of the data falls between what two values, 47.5 falls between what two values, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do first is look at ideal exercise time. And we have a sample. And the reason why it's a sample is because this is not the entire student population. This is just, some of the student population. They said, hey, this is when it's the ideal time for me to exercise. And so, first thing that we're going to do is we are going to find the mean, which I don't have the mean. No, I don't. So for some odd reason, I don't have the mean there, but I'm going to put the mean right here because I want the mean. So equals average, and then we're just going to, and I press Control Shift down. You can also on a Mac press Command Shift down. So I've got the mean right there. Next, we've got the standard deviation. So this is the standard deviation of the sample. So for an Excel formula, we're going to do equals standard deviation. So stdev.s, highlight the data, press enter. So once again, just Command Shift down. So now we've got the sample standard deviation and then the variance. Now there's two ways to go about doing the variance. The first way is equals variance dot sample. And so you can, once again, just click on the value, press Control Shift or Command Shift down, and it gives you the variance. And then the range, this one's a little bit different. So you've got to do equals max, and then we're going to close the parentheses, minus min. So notice max minus min, and then I'm going to highlight the data again, press enter, and that gives me the range. And then the skewness, we're going to do equals skew, and then we're going to highlight the data. Okay, and this is a slightly negative skew, but really it's so close to zero that we would consider to not be skewed. The threshold is actually 1 and -1. If it's above +1, it's positively skewed. If it's below -1, it's negatively skewed. But if it's between -1 to +1, it's not really considered skewed. Now, these next few are a little bit different. Okay, and you've got to know how to do this. And I'm going to grab something from the 141, this worksheet right here, and I'm going to highlight this. Here we go, Control C, and bring it back over here. Okay, and then I'm also going to Control C. There we go. I'll bring this down a little bit further. Control X. Okay, so we have, let's see here. There we go. 3, make this the right size. There we go. So for these next few, what we're going to do is we are going to put the values in here, um, so that way we can calculate, hey, 68% of the data falls between these 2 points, and where does the data fall essentially. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to calculate the mean, and I'm going to put the mean right here. So equals, or we're just going to literally copy and paste this. Control C, Control V. Okay. And then what we've got is one standard deviation below the mean is right here. And then one standard deviation above the mean is right here. And we're going to, just to make life a lot easier, home, left, let's do this, Control C. Oops, Control C, paste the values. There we go. Because yeah, when I copied and pasted it, I forgot, hey, it's pasting the formula. And we're going to, there we go, and make it go to the left. There we go. So now hey, 13.6 is the mean, and then we're going to do equals 13.6 minus uh the standard deviation. Okay, then we'll do equals 9.82 minus the standard deviation again, then equals 5.88 minus the standard deviation again. And so now we have one standard deviation below the mean, two standard deviations below the mean, and three standard deviations below the mean. And then we're going to do the same thing. Equals plus one standard deviation above the mean equals plus, whoops, I don't even know how I just did that, but equals plus another standard deviation, and then last but not least, equals plus another standard deviation. So this is three standard deviations above the mean, two standard deviations above the mean, one standard deviation above the mean, and then this right here is your mean. Okay. So the question is 68% of the data falls between what two values? Well, 68% of the data falls between one standard deviation below the mean and one standard deviation above the mean. So it's going to be 9.82 and 17.70. So 9.82 and 17.70. And then 47.5% of the data falls between the mean and what value below the mean. So what is 34? Right here, you've got 34 plus 13.5. That right there is 47.5. So 47.5% of the data falls between the mean and two standard deviations below the mean. So it's going to be 5.88 and 13.76. There we go. Uh, or you could have just put 5.88. And then 99.7% of the data falls between what two values? Well, you notice right here it says 99.7% of the data falls within three standard deviations of the mean. So we look at three standard deviations above the mean and three standard deviations below the mean. And 99.7% of the data falls between 1.94 and 25.58, which also means that there is 0.15% of the data that's below 1.94 and 0.15% of the data that's above 25.58. But for this answer, we're just going to put 1.94 and 25.58. Okay. And then 13.5% of the data falls between one standard deviation and two standard deviations above the mean. What are those two values? So 13.5% fall between one standard deviation above the mean and two standard deviations above the mean. So those two values are one standard deviation above the mean is 17.7 and two standard deviations above the mean is 21.64. So we're going to put 17.7, and 21.64. And then 0.3% of the data falls beyond these two values. Like I was talking about before, 99.7% of the data falls within these two values, okay, which means that 0.3% of the data falls beyond those two values as well. So it's once again the same exact thing of 1.94 and 25.58. So 99.7 falls between the two values, one and then 0.3% of the data falls beyond those two values. And so then you just go you go through the rest of these and you answer them just like the way that you did for before. And yeah, and then 141, all that this is a just like your Word worksheet, it is a location for you to put in all of your information here in Excel if you want to do it. And then also the answers are over here, so that way you can be like, hey, let me check my answers to make sure that I got it right. So I would encourage you, hey, do it beforehand, then check your answers after you're done. So that's how you do that. And yeah.